The forecast for that fateful day in 1939 was a ho-hum affair, just another winter day. All the newspaper said was, rain today, a little colder tonight. Mother Nature, on the other hand, had other plans.
Oh boy, did she. A short but furious storm rolled across the bay, causing a disastrous turn of events that some watermen regard as the worst tragedy in skipjack history. Well, you know, Jim Duffy, author of Secrets of the Eastern Shore, is going to be here to tell us about what happened on that daily day. It's good to see you, sir.
Good afternoon.
Thank you so much for joining us. So, do I understand, big storm, okay. Do I understand part of the problem was the timing of the storm?
It was. So they're out on the water all day, and they have kind of a normal day, and about 2 o'clock, 2:30, the wind dies down, they decide it's time to call it a day. If the storm had come a half an hour later, everybody would have been safely home and docked.
Okay.
And it would have been no problem at all. They had no warning. So, you know, Captain Art Daniels, you remember Captain Art Daniels from Deal Island, a long time like dean of the skipjack fleet.
Yeah.
As a very young man in 1939, he was out on one of the boats. He was in the open Chesapeake Bay. Over by Solomon's Island. And they're coming back and they're thinking nothing, and all of a sudden the sky over the western shore turns black as tar. Now, he spent so many decades out on the water, and he called what happened next the hardest blow I ever saw. Oof. As an older man. So it was very serious, and his boat stayed afloat, he always said, by sheer luck. They had gotten 100 bushels of oysters that day, but kind of by accident, they had not sold the previous day's bushels. So there were 150 bushels down below. And those
loaded.
Served as ballast to help it pull up when this out of the blue hurricane force wind came in.
And it went right up the bay, right?
It went right across the bay, and then it went up the Choptank River.
Oh, okay.
Now, there were 8 or 9 boats out of Cambridge working on the Choptank River. The problem for them was it was foggy on the Choptank. So they didn't even get that little warning when the sky turned black as tar. They couldn't see it. Nobody had time to bring their sails down or do anything. The wind just hit them. One guy said it was like getting hit by a freight train when they could just completely out of the blue. 3 boats went down. One of them was fortunate enough to go down in shallow enough water that guys could climb on the boat and be safe. But the other 2, 5 guys died on one boat, and five went in on another boat, and 4 of them perished. And it really was. The writer Christopher White, in a book called Skipjack, if anyone is curious, does a wonderful long recreation of this whole scene in a very good book.
So there was one that survived?
One survived. His name was George Wheatley. Of the many interesting things about George Wheatley, the thing that constantly strikes me when I think about his story is that he was 19 years old. So he's hanging on, he's in the water, and he's hanging on to a lifeboat with all the other 4 guys are all hanging on to an upside down lifeboat. Hypothermia. These watermen know that the February water is cold and they can't stay there for very long.
Right.
And so one by one, these guys try to climb onto the top of the lifeboat in order to get out of the water.
Yeah.
And every time they do, the lifeboat flips 360 degrees, throws them off. Somehow, this kid at 19 years old understands what's going on. And every time somebody climbs up on the lifeboat, he lets go of the lifeboat, treads water, and then the lifeboat flips. Then he grabs it again. And he does this over and over again. But he's still in the water.
Yeah.
Still in a desperate shape. Another boat is coming by, Captain Bill Hubbard on the Geneva May. Sees him, the wind has got him, so he's going at top speed. He only has one chance to throw a rope. He can't turn around in that wind. Throws the rope, and miraculously, miracle number 1 of several miracles, he's able to catch the rope. Now, he's got just a few short seconds before that rope comes taut, and they're going full speed, like 0 to 40 in no time. Somehow he has the wherewithal to put a knot of the rope in his mouth, wrap the rope around himself, and then he holds this rope to try and ease the pressure on his mouth when that line comes taut, which is just a matter of seconds. The line comes taut, and he's like body surfing like a porpoise in the middle of this storm, and eventually the guys on the Geneva May reel him up like he's a bushel of oysters. He is completely purple and he is completely passed out. And so a few boats were able to stay up and they got it. And all the guys on those boats and Wheatley all said the same thing, like, I never thought I was going to set foot on land again.
That's incredible.
You know what this 19-year-old guy did after that? He needed a little recovery time. Next season, back out on the water. Spent many, many years back out on the water. Died in 2009 at the age of 88.
Incredible.
You take a man out of the water, but you can't take the water out of a man.
Okay, we'll
about
go with
that?
that. Thank you
Wow.
so much, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Another great story.